Now, usually when people talk about the most interesting One Piece powers, they refer to Luffy having mastery over his devil fruit, Zoro having some type of Nine Tails Sukuna type devil inside of him, and Law's room abilities. However, what nobody seems to speak about are Brook's powers. People overlook him because, on the surface, Brook seems fairly simple. He's the skeletal swordsman who usually does the classic anime delayed attack. However, there is surprisingly a lot beyond this basic ability, as Brook seems to be a very complex character. Starting out with his devil fruit, Brook ate the Yomi Yomi no Mi. This fruit allows their user to have a second chance at life by returning their soul to the real world, which already sounds extremely OP, but at first it didn't seem that way. In his original life, Brook couldn't use any of his powers whatsoever, so eating this fruit kinda seemed like a detriment. When he died, however, Brook's soul was returned to the real world, though not to his original body. This meant that he had to wander the sea in search of his body, which at that point was already decomposed. Even so, Brook can possess his own skeleton and use it as his mortal vessel. Now, this makes absolutely no sense because skeletons don't stay together on their own, but fuck it, this is a series where old men can punch islands in half with one hit. Being a skeleton does give Brook some perks though. Having no flesh to weigh him down, Brook is way lighter than the average person, being able to run on water and jump higher as a result. A common misconception about Brook is that he's immortal, which is just not true. He literally states in chapter 443 that his second life will have an end. Brook can still feel pain as well. However, he is immune to effects such as electrocution and cold temperatures. So now you may be thinking that the Yomi Yomi no Mi isn't all that. Brook gets revived and he can live a second time, so what? However, during the time skip, Brook found many different ways to use this power to its maximum capabilities. In chapter 643, Brook explains that the power that holds him in this world is his soul, and it seems that he's gained many techniques due to this realization. For instance, he can now leave his own body and essentially act as a specter, being able to phase through objects. In fact, Brook can now use his soul to do all sorts of things, such as sway people's emotions, repair his own skeleton, and what I like to call soul hacks. One of my favorite instances of soul hacks was when Brook used his Soul King ability on the chess piece soldiers. The attack was successful because the soldiers are made out of weak souls. However, for other homies such as Zeus or Prometheus, they are not at all affected by this because they come straight from Big Mom's soul. But I can't talk about this ability without speaking on Brook's true speciality, music. In his previous life, Brook was a musician for the Rumbar Pirates, a crew that specialized in performing. And being the musician for the future Pirate King, Brook has to be the best of the best. He is said to be able to play any instrument, but is usually seen playing bass, violin, or piano, my personal favorite. He's also a great vocalist as well. To put into perspective how amazing of a musician Brook is, his music is literally able to make animals like Laboon happy. He's also known across the world as Soul King due to his escapades during the time skip, in which he toured the Grand Line on some Rolling Loud type shit, essentially becoming the Cardi of One Piece. But if Brook is Cardi, then who the fuck is Uta? Anyways, Brook can use his musical capabilities in combat as well, being able to perform multiple techniques such as Lullaby Fletch, in which he puts people to sleep by just playing his violin. And by combining both soul and music, he can move people emotionally. So the last thing that we have to touch on is Brook's swordsman skills. He wields a Shikomizue named Soul Solid, and in conjunction with his fencing skills, Brook is actually a pretty adept swordsman. Maybe not to the likes of Zoro, but special nonetheless. His most famous ability without a doubt is Hanuta Sancho, which is essentially just a delayed slash attack that I mentioned earlier. However, basic fencing is only the beginning of Brook's sword skills. By using the chill of the underworld, Brook can generate ice with his sword. This makes him the only Straw Hat to have ice powers. And it's not just some icy cut here and there, this is full on ice generation on some Todoroki shit. Now, it's difficult to find out where Brook stands in terms of power. Usually he's a support character and he never really gets into any meaningful fights. But here are the feats that we do have. In chapter 890, Brook was able to blitz Big Mom while she was on Zeus. Granted, she was a little bit out of her mind, but even so, Brook jumped from the Sunny, cut Zeus in half, and Big Mom couldn't even tell what was going on until it was too late. There's also an anime only scene where he blitzes Oven, so if you want to use the anime, Brook's speed would be consistent. However, Brook seems like a dex only type character, since in the anime, he attempts to hit Big Mom with one of his strongest attacks and it does nothing. This is an Emperor we're talking about, but even Nami was able to shock Big Mom at the end of Whole Cake. We haven't seen anything in Wano to put Brook above his Whole Cake power level, so yeah, I think that's where he caps out. I'd put Brook in Commander level, which is just a safe assumption, but it's so hard to tell. I mean, he never got to fight against a Tobiropa member, he didn't get a meaningful fight in Whole Cake, and he didn't even fight one of Doflamingo's officers. Brook is really just that character that comes in clutch, and I mean clutch, cause he does stuff like, he'll just do stuff out of nowhere and you'll be so surprised as to what happened. His performance on Whole Cake is just the most loyal shit I've ever seen, but in general, it's just hard to nail down what his true power level is.